Power lost. Power lost. Depends on this. Okay, so let's talk about the power lost. Okay, so the light bulb lasting over a century. What was the problem with it? Problem with it? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Not enough light.
All right, not enough light. So why is it that they were not getting enough light out of it? They weren't getting enough light out of it because of this, right? Resistivity of carbon is not very high. So how did they compensate? What is it that they tried to do? Okay, so they knew that they needed to increase the resistance because larger the resistance is more light you will get out of it. So how do you increase the resistance? So they decided to make it long, right? Okay, that's the reason why it's extremely long. Also, you need to make it really thin. Okay, but with carbon, it's not like tungsten. You cannot make it extremely thin. So they tried to make it as thin as possible, and after a certain point, it's going to become real brittle. And then they said, okay, we're just going to try to make it as long as possible. By making it long, they were able to only generate so much light. Eventually, they said, okay, this is it. All right, they went out of business. That's it. So they tried their best. In case there's a test question will go like this. What was the problem with the light bulb? It's not generating enough light. Why is it that it's not generating enough light? Because they're using carbon film. Carbon does not have a very high resistivity. So they try to make it as thin as possible, and there's a limit to how thin you can make it. So, and then they try to make it as long as possible to increase their resistance. All right, the best that they could do, you guys have seen it, their best wasn't good enough. So they ran out of, they end up losing their business. So that's what happened. All right, so let's talk about the guy whose bone marrow got fried. All right, so Ian made a good point. So obviously the current doesn't have a problem going through the muscles without damaging the tooth, right? The bone marrow is the one that heated up. The reason why the bone marrow heated up is because it's got higher resistance, it's got higher resistivity. So that was the problem. The muscles are get a conducting current, so they didn't really suffer that much damage as a result. Electrocutions.
The safety of Nokian tires can cause extreme action in the quest for excitement.
So, is this commercial realistic in the way it portrays what should happen to you if you were to pee or pass on something electrified?
Jamie and Adam have rolled into the Golden Gate Railway Museum to test the myth about the guy who died the nastiest of deaths, relieving himself on an electrified third rail.
Usually when you hear the narrative, the guy has a name. It's Joseph Patrick O'Malley, a more Irish name you couldn't get. So I suspicion that part of this is a stereotypical legend, and it promoted the stereotype of the drunken, thick Irishman.
O'Malley is in for a rough time. He's been built with the same electrical properties as the human body. The plan is to wire him up so that if the myth is true, current will run from the third rail up his urine stream and trigger an electric release switch, knocking him over backwards. The current by then will be exiting his feet. There's no third rail here, so they'll build their own, attaching a section of track to a 650-volt transformer. And once in position, there's the delicate but most important issue.
Oh, perfect. Okay. How's the P aim look?
P aim looks pretty good to me. I think that's going to hit handily.
Okay. Adam, is your bladder ready to do the real thing?
Yeah, we've got it set up basically the way we think it would be set up in real life, the way someone would actually happen across this situation. It's a dry day. The ground is dry. Our subject is wearing normal rubber-soled shoes. He's having a wee on the rail. There's no wires around him. We'll electrify the rail, and we'll see what happens to him.
The guys will stand on a rubber mat to insulate them. O'Malley, well, he probably wishes he'd had that drink. The electric release is like a human heart. If it's triggered, he's a dead man.
Let's make the set hot.
Hot set.
3, 2, 1.
Release wasn't triggered. O'Malley lives another day. Adam's putting on a brave face.
That's exactly what I expected. He's got rubber-soled shoes. He's on dry ground. There's no way a mere 600 volts is going to arc through his shoes.
But there's life in this myth yet. Maybe it was a rainy night. The guy's shoes were wet. That would help complete the circuit with the ground.
That's it.
We're electrified. Here we go. Nothing. Not a thing.
Damn.
I really, he needs to see a doctor. That is cool. Jamie, dry shoes didn't work. Wet shoes, wet ground didn't work. What's next?
Well, I guess the only thing left is to take his shoes off, and we'll assume he's barefoot.
Okay. Hey, there's two. Stumbling around the train yard late at night, looking for a place to be barefoot. All right, are we good?
Not set.
All right, here we go. Nope, there's no connection going.
The guys are starting to suspect the problem isn't in the feet, but the urine stream. Perhaps it's not carrying the current.
Yeah, it looks like those are not forming a solid stream.
Yeah.
But suddenly they've got another, more dangerous issue.
What's that sound?
The wet ground beneath their mat is live with electricity.
Yeah.
Off, turn it off. Again, it just shows what we knew, which is that the urine is highly conductive, and that couldn't have been a continuous stream of urine, because if it was, we would have activated the relay, right?
Yeah, we should see that on the high speed.
Yeah.
Sure enough, by the time the urine reaches the rail, it's broken into separate drops. It needs to be solid to carry a current. The guys might have a solution for that.
The only thing we have left is to try a larger stream of urine. You know, maybe that'll be more likely to create a continuous connection there with the ground.
That's what we started out with, and that's where we're going.
This could be the best day in O'Malley's life. Or the worst. The guys are hoping their luck will change. This is their last chance to prove the third rail myth is possible.
I'd like to see this thing work. I'd like to watch it fall over. To be honest, I still don't think it's quite going to work.
The ground is dried enough to safely try again. The larger, anatomically dubious stream will stay solid longer. And they decided to give the myth another helping hand, moving the rail closer.
The bladder is full. The rail is set. The electrics are good. We're good for the close-up test.
Powering up.
Powering up.
If this setup doesn't complete the circuit, trigger the release, and kill O'Malley, it will certainly kill the myth.
All right. And 3, 2, 1. It worked.
Yeah, man. 6 inches away from the
It just
rail.
goes to show, do not grab the third rail with both hands and on it from 3 inches away. Oh, man. Wait a second. I got to take a leak. Woo! That'll never make it in the show.
It was tricky, but they successfully jumped a current from the third rail up a stream of urine with lethal results.
So after all the testing we did, Jamie, do you think it's possible to electrocute yourself by peeing on the third rail?
Maybe given the right circumstances, it's raining, the ground's wet, so the shoes are wet, or maybe he's not wearing shoes. Could happen.
In fact, there are no recorded cases of O'Malley or anyone else dying like this in the New York subway.
Watching it break up in every stream that we photographed, just doesn't look like you could make a solid connection.
I'd say that's a myth busted.
Not that I'd be peeing on the third rail anytime soon.
All right, guys. So what's wrong with their conclusion? They end up putting a lot of emphasis on the urine stream being solid. If there's a large enough ultra potential difference, does it matter that the urine stream is not solid? No, you don't need to have any contact. In fact, if there's a large enough ultra potential difference, even if it's not raining, it can still strike ground, guys. That's what it is. All right, they end up putting a lot of emphasis on the wrong thing. The only reason why the experiment didn't work out properly is because they end up setting the trigger way too high, 65 millionths. By the time the current gets to the trigger, it's not going to be 65 millionths. It didn't work out. So how about the student who ended up getting his little sausage fried? Do you think he was lying about his little story and then he ended up getting really embarrassed? Do you think he's the only person who ended up pissing on something electrified and ended up getting shocked and paying for it? Guys, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You go to a bar, all right, you're drunk, you're pissed drunk, you're walking towards your car, nature calls. All right, what are you going to do? You're gonna, if you have to go, you got to go. It's just high voltage. You're not going to touch anything. You're just going to piss on it. Next thing you know, there's a flash and something goes flying. You look down and you feel compromised. Your wife is not very happy. Your favorite toys have gone. So you see the show, you get really pissed, right? So what do? You email them, send them before and after pictures. Why before pictures? I don't know. They say, hey, this is what happens. I love Mythbusters because when they get it wrong, they hear from people. They hear from physicists, engineers, people in general, and they go back and they try to correct the mistake. And this is one of those times, and they still will get it wrong.
It seems that we have to revisit the story of peeing on the third rail. We thought we did a great job with it. We tested it. We thought we busted the myth.
In the original test, the Mythbusters replicated the electrified third rail, often used to power subways.
How's the pee aim look?
The aim looks pretty good to me.
With our test subject O'Malley's stoic assistance, they found in normal circumstances, there's no way a fatal current can jump up a urine stream.
Not a bit.
The reason? A few inches after release, the urine stream breaks up. It needs to be solid to carry the jolt.
A lot of people are sending us emails and saying that, well, I pee on an electric fence on the farm and I got a shock.
Okay. Jamie and Adam have called in builder Tori Bellici from their workshop to help put this one together.
I basically think we're still going to be right about the reasons you can't get electrified being on the third rail, but we've got to build a rig that simulates an electric fence. Okay. So I think we ought to have half the farm fence with a single wire and half, like, maybe a 2-foot square section of chain link fence as well. You should probably be on the city side. Farm boy, city boy. Yeah, I think I would do that.
To recreate those viewers' adventures down on the farm, the Mythbusters need a fence. It'll be half chain link and half single wire, and they'll hook it up to an electric fence energizer. Then they'll do what comes natural.
It just doesn't seem right.
To prevent killing livestock, the energizer delivers a low current in very short pulses.
It's not going to continue to zap you. It's only going to be in a pulse. So, it's just enough to give you a serious jolt.
I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm ready to try the experiment. Are you?
I'm not doing it.
Can I point out that I've already been painted with gold paint and had an anal probe today?
You're doing a wonderful job.
It seems an electric jolt to the genitals is beyond the limits of myth-busting solidarity. It's just Adam, the fence, and his now close friends, the paramedics, with their heart monitor, just in case.
I'd just, like to get a confirmation of my assumption that an extremely low amperage, high voltage hit is not going to perhaps cause mine to malfunction from here on in.
Hey, Adam. Yeah. You're not pee shy or anything.
I'm not pee shy. No. I believe I've proven I'm not shy in any way.
It's time to show your stuff.
Why don't you hold my hand while I pee, and maybe you'll get a shot too. Oh, okay, we're going to try it in here.
The voltage is higher than in the original third rail experiment. And even more importantly, this time, Adam's much closer. Just 3 inches from the wire. There should be a solid stream.
I got to work one up. Hold on.
Is there a problem?
I may be a little pee shy. There's like 50 people in the room. All right, here we go. Ready. Oh, there we go. I got a shot. It was nothing.
I got it.
You did?
Yeah.
Beautiful. We proved that I got a shot. Right there. It was nothing.
Our initial results still hold.
Initial results were wrong, and then he still insisted that the initial results still hold.
No, the myth is busted.
Myth cannot be busted. If there's a large enough voltage or potential difference, you will get shocked and potentially it can kill you.
It was impossible to get
7,600 volts is way too large, guys.
shocked. We just said that even though you're in conducts electricity, you have to be ridiculously close to the source for that to conduct. And we proved that again. We still yet to find a single case confirmed of someone dying from being electrocuted by peeing on an electrified rail.
And 2 people did.
I was being cautious, as everybody in our viewing audience should also be.
This one's definitely busted. Let's move on.
Case in point. Both of them got zapped at the same time. This is the sort of stuff that people usually do when they're really drunk. Case in point. It's more like a red state pastime. It's that fast, guys. You don't need to watch Mythbusters, just try it. In slow motion, it was even better. It's an energizing experience.